Hello, and welcome to today's supply chain short on total landed variable cost. My name is Nick Ham, and I'm the Vice President of Supply Chain Design here at Spinnaker, and I'll be leading you through today's presentation. We're going to cover four key topics on our presentation here today. First is we'll define what we mean when we say total landed variable cost, or TLVC. Then we'll talk about when you should do a TLVC, or when it's appropriate, or when it can help. Third, we will talk about what it provides that other network studies or planning systems don't typically out of the box. And then we'll hop into a demo of what a Spinnaker TLV solution looks like, and we'll run through live results. So what is a total landed variable cost analysis? Well, it incorporates the landed variable costs, so source, make, deliver variable costs in a supply chain. It excludes, by definition here, the allocation of fixed costs, and it excludes other things like returns or CSR management or other corporate overhead. When should you do it? Well, really when you want to compare two scenarios against each other, which happens all the time in supply chain network design, but it also happens when you're doing portfolio product management or differentiating targets for inventory levels, for example. So what does it provide that regular reports don't? Well, it tells a story that others can't. It's really the only effective way to understand complex differences between two scenarios when the networks get very tricky. It also helps bubble up what those changes, top changes are to the top of the analysis, so it's easy to see and vet them out. So for an example, let's hop over to our live demo.
All right, and now we've switched over to Tableau to take a look at what some of the results of these analyses look like. So first, we're going to start by orienting you to what's in the underlying data. When you're using a TLVC analysis, it shines most clearly when you're comparing many scenarios against each other. So here in this case, we have 5 scenarios. We have a baseline, an optimal baseline, an expanded Kansas City example, a scenario where we allow direct shipments, and a scenario where we relocate distribution centers. So in this case, you can see we are saving money as we go along each scenario. And the next view of this that we'd like to have is, okay, here are the overall values. So this scenario costs 408 million, 296 million, all the way down to 260 million. The next one we'd like to show is what's the relative difference between those scenarios. So at the aggregate level, we're looking at, okay, well, between this baseline, the optimal baseline, or this relocated DC, we're looking at anywhere between 27% and 36% savings. If we wanted to exclude, let's say, the baseline and just compare the optimal baseline to the relocated DC scenario, you can see that we're saving roughly about 12% over the overall baseline. Now, where the TLVC comes in is it allows us to programmatically create a comparison of all those different scenarios against each other. So in this case, if we wanted to see the baseline versus the optimal baseline, we can see that that $111 million is saved in a combination of inbound transportation cost and outbound transportation cost. If we go back to our scenario differences and we wanted to compare the optimal baseline to the relocate DCs, we would just select that. And you can see that the 35 million or 12% savings is a combination of inbound transportation, outbound transportation, and a little bit of outbound warehousing. Now, the thing that the TLVC enables us to do is drill down and get a specific difference for each customer product combination. So while this tells the high-level story of how we get that $35 million difference here, we might want to step into another level of detail. Right? And we do that by dragging on additional information. So in this case, we could go ahead and add the products that are different between the two. Right. And now we see that 35 million not only broken out by outbound transportation and outbound warehousing, but also by the underlying products that we see. But as you can see here, this doesn't really help us once we start getting into the details of telling a coherent story. So while the TLVC is great for rolling up this aggregate view, we tend to look at a different way when we come to look at actual landed costs. And that is we take a look at the overall costs by product and we start aggregating up, like you see, by product or by customer. And then we'll put together interactive dashboards. So in this case, what we do is we'll take two given scenarios we'll take, let's say here are the flows for all of those underlying scenarios. So here's the optimized baseline, and here's another model. And as we click through these different models, now we can look at the differences on a product by product basis based on this product rank, which we calculate is the highest difference between the two scenarios by a given product. So this shows us all the customer product combinations for this given scenario. And as I click through, you can see it's very easy to tell what's going on in any one given scenario, even though we're looking at multiple echelons and multiple customers because they're grouped together, in this case on the product. But we group together as part of our TLVC analysis any combination that's relevant to your business. So we can roll up customer families, we can roll up product families, or in this case, as I'm demonstrating here, a very simple one of just rolling it up on the product themselves, all the different customers that it's shipping to, and then all of the inbound flows for the constituent components for that product. So I hope that's giving you a little better idea of what a TLVC analysis looks like. If there's curious, you'd like some more information, please feel free to contact Spinnaker, and we'd be happy to show you a view of this on your own data. Thank you.